Alright, what is up you guys? Diggerdan here, coming at you with another video. This time doing another book review, this time on Murtagh, written by Christopher Paolini. This is the newest book in the World of Eragon. It's technically Inheritance Cycle like 4.5. It is the fifth full-length novel in the World of Eragon, but it's not book number 5 following Eragon, if that makes sense. It follows his half-brother, Murtagh. So without further ado, let's dig into it. Okay, and before we really get into anything, I do want to preface this by saying, since this takes place after the first 4 books, it does spoil things in the original cycle, or not trilogy, but the 4 books. And I know Christopher Paolini said, I saw on Twitter, he says that you could read Murtagh as like your first entry into it, but I personally wouldn't recommend that just because there are a lot of callbacks to the original series, and there's a lot of plot points that get spoiled, obviously, with some things that happen and some details that are explained in this book. So if you don't want any spoilers from anything for Inheritance Cycle, I would click off now, even though I think I already spoiled something calling Murtagh Eragon's half-brother in the first 10 seconds, so sorry. But yeah, so like I said, this could technically be read as your first entry to the World of Eragon, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend starting with Eragon, reading the original 4 books, then reading this one, and reading that series of short stories if you really wanted to. But yeah, so anyway, this follows Murtagh, which I was really excited when I saw that this was getting released, because I feel like Murtagh and Thorn especially kind of got the short end of the stick a lot, just with their treatment in the original 4 books, with their relationship with Galbatorix and him manipulating them, and basically forcing them to fight Eragon and the Varden, basically fight for evil against good, is basically what it came to. And it's against their will as well. It's not like evil King Galbatorix convinced them, oh, my cause is just and right, you should do this. It's literally he found their true names and forced them against their will to do his bidding. And so I was excited to kind of explore some of that, some of their emotional baggage that caused, and just how they work through that. And it is touched on a little bit, but not as much as I would have liked. I guess without saying too much more, I'm just going to jump in and say that my overall score for this book is a 5, a dead 5 out of 10. It really hurts me to say that, because I really, 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 really did want to like this book, because I was in love with the original cycle, or the first 4 books, when they got released. Remember ordering Inheritance when I was in middle school, high school, and when it came out, I was so excited to rip through it, and it was really good. I was really excited when it was released that it was 4 books instead of just original trilogy, so it's like, whatever, I just really enjoyed those first 4 books, and so I had really high hopes for Murtagh, and I was really disappointed. I was really, really disappointed, and I was really excited too, because the first 100 pages kind of felt like coming home, coming back into Alagaësia, and exploring some new things. But after that first 100 pages, it kind of, that magic for me fell apart. That nostalgia kind of got lost, and then I kind of got smacked in the face with kind of a slow, boring story, which I hate to say, because I really, really wanted to like this, like I said. But yeah, without saying too much more, I'm going to say, you don't want any spoilers unless if you're still excited to read this. I encourage you, if you really enjoyed the original first 4 books, I would still recommend reading this, because there are a lot of things that kind of does wrap up a little bit, but actually it just opens more questions, more cans of worms than it answers, but it does introduce some new things too, which I enjoyed. But so if you don't want spoilers, I'll click off now. But without further ado, let's keep digging in. But yeah, my first category is emotional impact that I rate. If you haven't watched any of my reviews, I rate 5 categories, each category out of 10, and then I take the average of those, so it's a total point of 50 out of 10. or average it out of the 5 for a total of 1.5 or 1 through 10. Excuse me. But anyway, emotional impact is my first one, and I rated that 6. Emotional impact, basically, how well did I connect with the story? Was I emotionally invested, right? Did the emotional parts tie me in? Did I feel like that the threat was actually scary? Did I think the humor was funny? All those types of things. And like I said already, I felt like the first 50 to 100 pages was kind of like a coming home, and I was really like that. I was on that wave. My wife was sitting on the couch next to me when I was ripping through it when I first got it. She's like, "Wow, you already knocked out 100 pages. That's awesome. You're gonna finish this in a few days." Yeah, because I finished 100 pages after my first day. I'm like, "Yeah, this is awesome." And then when I picked it up the next day, and just like kind of the magic lost a little bit, and I was kind of again faced with what the story actually is, and it wasn't as exciting and interesting as I was hoping for. Basically, I was bored, and I didn't feel as invested as I think I was going to be. And something that really took me out of it is within those first 100 pages, Murtagh is introduced to a werecat, which the introduction is good. It was cool, but he was looking for information in this city, and then she pulls him aside, basically asking for a favor, and in return for him doing a favor for her, she would give him the information he's looking for, right? But the favor she needs is to save a baby werecat or a child werecat, but in order to do that, he has to do X, Y, Z before. So it just felt like a whole side quest, or literally 3 mini side quests to move the story forward. It just felt like a diversion, and it just slowed the plot way down, and I just felt taken out of it. I think there was a good 150 pages in this side quest that, in my opinion, just didn't need to be there. Because the side quest was, you have to save this child werecat that is taken by the guards and in some secret bunker prison. But in order to do that, you have to join the ranks and gain the trust of the captain, because we think he's involved. But in order to do that, you have to catch this really big fish that is in this lake that has been causing issues for generations, for fishermen and just people around the lake in general. But in order to do that, you have to go get one of Gladier's scales in order to catch the fish. But Gladier's dead, but that mound over there with the tree growing on top is his grave. And there's people over there. And, hey, remember, Murtagh, that you killed Gladier and Oramus? You remember that? It's like, I understand, like, you're still building on the history that happened, but it felt like every 20, 30 pages, in some way, it was like a callback to something before, and it couldn't let Murtagh just kind of move forward. You know, it kind of, I understand there's a lot of emotions you got to deal with, a lot of things that he did that people think are unreprehensible, whatever, were really, really bad. But again, it wasn't necessarily his fault all the time, and just him trying to deal with that. And that's, again, like I said something before, is I was excited to see how he deals with that and gets pushed forward. But it feels like it just keeps getting thrown in his face. Oh, you're a bad person. You did this. You're terrible. And he's like, come on, guys. Like, just move on. Let's go. Yeah, so that whole, like, side quest thing took a lot of my willpower out of reading this book, and really slowed it down. And even once we got past that, that was honestly a better part of the book, too. Because once we got past that, and then he gets the information he needs, and then he goes and flies with Thorn over on the spine of the world and finds these cultists, that's when the book really dipped down. Like, it was kind of interesting, but then once he got captured, like once he was no longer a guest, and then he was a prisoner being forced and tortured, the torture bit went on forever, and it just really took me out of it. I'm like, Murtagh isn't this dumb. He was shown as being really smart, intelligent, and Thorn was being smart and intelligent. Like, they have way more awareness than what they were given in this book. I understand that a lot of the things they dealt with were new to them, but I understand they felt like they needed to do the right thing. But even Thorn's like, hey, we're way out of our depth here. We need to go get some assistance. Murtagh's like, oh no, we got it. We have no idea what we're dealing with. Like, we know she can use wordless magic. That's really powerful, but nah, it's fine. I don't know. I didn't believe it. So I think that's why my emotional score is way down too. So, all right, enough of that one. I'm going on to characters. I rated that just an even 5. Again, I did still like Murtagh and Thorn, but I felt like they're very different people than what the impression I got from the original 3 books. Like, even in Eragon, Murtagh was very, maybe not full of himself, but very confident and very sure of his abilities. And he was willing to learn and all these things. And then in Eldest, when he and Thorn, or when Thorn hatched for Murtagh, like the behind the scenes thing, and then the reveal, like we, ever since like Eldest, we've only seen like snippets really. And I don't know, I just got the impression that they were more intelligent and more capable than they really seemed to be in this book. Yeah, so I still like them though, and I liked Uvek, who is Urgel, and towards the end of the book, he's only like in the last 150, 200 pages out of, it's about 700 pages, by the way, I didn't say that yet, who ends up being blood brothers with Murtagh, just out of necessity. And again, I feel like that little plot point was just kind of thrown in there just so that Murtagh can feel like he can belong and has camaraderie with somebody. But I feel like that was a little forced. But anyway, the character itself, Uvek, was my favorite. And everybody else, like the main antagonist, like Bachel, Bachel, I don't even know how to say her name. I did not like her. The only thing I did like, or not the only thing, one of the things I did like about her is that she's a half-elf. So her mom was an elf and her dad was a human. And I think that was kind of cool, kind of expands on world building a little bit. Because in the original cycle, we see like dwarves, humans, elves, urgles, werecats, right? But you don't really see any interbreeding at all. Like in a lot of fantasy things, like Dungeons and Dragons, for example, you see a lot of like half orcs and half elves. And even just throughout fantasy in general, you see a lot of the kind of those hybrid, not genders, hybrid races. And so I think in us finally seeing an example of that in the World of Eragon, I think is cool. And her being revealed that she's like hundreds of years old, so she kind of has that elf immortality, I think is cool. But her as a character really is not great. She was very one note, and I didn't like it. And she would like reveal things at the weirdest time. Like, she'd be the most stubborn. Like, you're an outlander. You don't deserve my information. And then it's like just randomly, oh, yeah, I worship this guy. I didn't say his name for the first 200 pages of you meeting me, but, oh, now that you can't really understand what I'm saying, this is who it is. It's like, I don't know. Just the way some information was revealed, I didn't really care for. Yeah, like, any new character that was introduced, I feel like the most part were like dull and very one note. But yeah, Murtagh, Thorn, and Uvek were like the 3 that I cared for. And then next, plot, I rated this as a 4. I did not like the plot. I don't know if you could tell that. Like I said, it was just like the side quests. Again, that just honestly, in my opinion, was like the best part, but I was still really disappointed in that. And then just the cave or the mountain that they go to and being captured. And I just feel like he was way smarter than that, or he should be. And just getting trapped, I don't know. I did not like it. And then just the whole torture sequence went on for too long. And then when they did escape, and then they make it to what the new capital city, which used to be Urubane, but I forget the name now. And then when Nasdura is talking to him, and then it's revealed that his sword wasn't left behind, and Gladier's scale wasn't left behind, and then his goblet that he found wasn't left behind, and then also the spear, or the lance, the dragon-killing lance that Bachel somehow got, wasn't left behind, even though the mountain was falling around them. That's stupid to me. Maybe that'll be revealed, but how? Murtagh was half dead. He was bleeding out. His lung was punctured. Thorn and Uvek were trying to get down, and the one, not slave girl, but the one servant girl, she was knocked out. And so in all of that, how are those things collected before they escaped? It just, oh, yeah, I did manage to get it. How? You were not, Thorn was not in a place to make those, to make those second decisions. How would he even know? He was just, his thing was, my rider is dying, I need to get him to safety. That's all that was. So, and how did Bachel even get the stupid spear lance? And why did it have to be the specific one that was used to kill Shuriken? Because there's 12 of them. That was revealed. Or Murtagh's like, oh yeah, there's 12 of them. And she just happens to have the one that I used. But it's like, okay, well, why can't it be one of the other 11? Come on, Chris. You got this big world. You just randomly throw names. Oh, this Forsaken's name is this. You just throw these random things in there. Why not have it be a different lance? You know? Again, maybe that'll be revealed. Maybe not. But I think it's kind of unnecessary callbacks to the original series. Which I think is good to have like little snippets like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was cool. Or because you're building on it. But why couldn't it have been something different? I think I would have been more invested if it was something different instead of, oh, I'm rolling my eyes because we've seen this before and it's the exact same thing. How the heck did she get it? It's like, I understand it opens some more questions, but if it was a different Dragonlance, then it almost leaves more mystery because maybe this Dragonlance has been here for hundreds of years. Maybe it, instead of how the heck was it one that was used in that battle and then was lost and then, I don't know. I think it's silly. I don't think it makes sense. Maybe it'll be explained, but probably not to my liking. Next is dialogue and prose. I also rated this a 4. Something about Paolini's writing that I learned in my ripe age of 26 that I don't like is just using random big obscure words. Now thinking back, I do remember that bothering me in Eragon, Eldest, Bersinger, Inheritance. But at the time, I'm just like, oh, okay, cool, this is a big word I can learn. But now it's like, at least once a chapter, there's like a random word. It's like, okay, I don't want to have to look this up. And especially knowing that this is geared towards young adults, too. I think it's technically falls in YA. And then he used like therein and air. He tries to make it sound old-timey and higher than what it really is, in my opinion. And it's inconsistent, too, because if everything was like that, then sure. That's fine. That's your tone. That's your voice as an author. Awesome. But the fact that it's like he's kind of sprinkles that in there every other paragraph, once a page, something like that. It's like, I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. It takes me out of it. And I caught myself rolling my eyes a lot. Like, oh, okay, that's a big word. You just wanted to throw it in there. Why couldn't you just say within? Why does it have to be there? And I don't know. I know that's really picky. I know I'm kind of sounding very negative. But that's just how it is. And then some plot, and not plot points, but like when I was saying earlier, Bechtel like repeated herself a lot, saying, "Oh, I'm the speaker, I'm the speaker, I'm the speaker." You won't know this. You're an outsider. You have to be within to know. Just having the same plot points being repeated and nothing happening a couple times, like for multiple chapters, until all of a sudden it all happens at once. That really irked me. And then like when Murtagh, like jumps to conclusions, but at the same time, like not having enough information, but on the flip side, having it all at the same time. I don't know. That was kind of jarring. Another thing is that sometimes, like, Murtagh is thinking things, and then he said, he says it, or it's like he just randomly pulls obscure information. It's like, oh yeah, of course, everybody knows this. Everybody knows that this Forsaken did this, this, and this. Which is kind of a lazy reveal, in my opinion. Like, again, Murtagh has different background than Eragon, so, and different information, and he has different, like, insider knowledge of, like, Galbatorix's court, things like that. I get that. I respect that. I'm excited to explore those things, but some of the ways that information was revealed, I didn't really care for. It was just, like, just blurted out. Or, actually, like, Paolini, in my opinion, has a terrible thing of telling, not showing. There are a lot of instances where, like, the plot point itself is fine, but the way it was revealed was just like, I think that's where, in my mind, a lot of characters, like, would jump to conclusions because it was just explained in a big exposition of this happened and this happened and then blah, blah, blah. Instead of just showing, like, two characters interacting, but instead it's like Murtagh, oh, she has a glare in her eye, so she's really angry. But it's like, aside from the glare in the eye, it's like the tone of her voice is neutral. So how can you tell she's angry, or she doesn't have furrowed eyebrow, or things like that, you know? It's just jumping to the conclusions where, in my opinion, it's telling, not showing, which I think is a huge sin in writing. And the last category is world building. I rated this at 6. And it's only so high, again, because it builds on what's already pre-established in the original first 4 books. And he tries to deviate a little bit with, like, the word of words, which is, like, the most powerful word in the ancient language, like, not working. Which, cool, whatever. You can't have that Deus Ex Machina or that thing to save you all the time. I get that. But it not working at the very beginning of the story, and then it's like doesn't work 4 or 5 times. Like, what's the point of knowing the word then? He's one of 3 people that know the word. It's him, Eragon, and Arya. And that's it. And it's useless to him for most of this book. I think it works like once or twice. It works when he goes to rename his sword. And like one other time, and that's about it. Again, I was really excited to get in more dragons, more dragon scenes. You know, that's why I love the original books. Saphira is such a great character. Her and Eragon interacting was such a great relationship. And I know the relationship, obviously, between Murtagh and Thorn is wildly different, partly because they're both guys instead of male and female relationship, but also just because of the turmoil that they had to go through during the war with the Varden and what Calatorix put them through. So I was really excited to explore that. But what we got is just Murtagh being arrogant and trying to plow through and explore these new evils that I didn't really care for. And again, I can respect having new evils because it's kind of like in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. It's like, okay, where do we go after this big Thanos event? This big universe-ending, universe-saving event. It's like, where do we go from here? You can't get any bigger stakes than that. And I feel like maybe that's what this book struggles with a little bit. And that's what Paolini's trying to pull in back a little bit, trying to have a new big threat. But I just don't think it works. I think it fails, in my opinion. And something I did want to mention, I haven't mentioned this yet, but like the best parts in this book, in my opinion, were like the flashback sequences. Like when Murtagh was interacting with Tornak, his blade instructor, his blade master. Those were like the best. And when Murtagh had a flashback or a dream of him with his first duel, his first experience of killing another person, and like Calatorix forcing his hand on that, and just how that affected Murtagh when he's only 15 or 16, I think he was. Like, those are the best things. I wish we would have gotten more of that. More flashbacks, more, like whole chapters instead of just 2-3 pages at a time. I think we got maybe 15-20 pages total, if I'm being generous, of like those flashback sequences that I really enjoyed. But yeah, I really, really wanted to like this book, and I didn't. I have very mixed feelings on it, and I think it's appropriate that it's just an even keel 5. So yeah, again, I really wanted to like it, but it just isn't for me. Once he does release book number 5 of the Inheritance Cycle, or book 6 if you count this as 5, I'm still gonna buy it. I'm still gonna be really excited for it. But I think just not as excited as I was for Murtagh, and maybe a little more apprehensive. But yeah. So what do you guys think? Have you guys read Murtagh? Are you guys just excited to get into Murtagh if you haven't? Do you guys think I'm way off base and you guys absolutely loved it? Have at it. Let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, please hit like down below. If you guys want to see more from me, Diggerdan, please hit that subscribe button as well as that bell notification icon so you guys know when I upload each and every single time. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one.